rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
All right, I have a big problem with these black Marxists in Nashville, Tennessee. Yes, that's right. The so-called Tennessee Three. They aren't heroes. They are Marxists. Ask yourself why Marxists want to disarm law-abiding citizens. Furthermore, I want you to ask yourself why Vice President Kamala Harris would travel to Nashville, Tennessee, ignore the families of the victims that were killed by the Nashville shooter, and push gun control and support the black Marxists. Why would she do that? I'm telling you, black people, I have a big problem with black people that are anti-2A. First off, slaves weren't allowed to own guns. We probably could have ended slavery if we were, but thanks to black codes, we can own guns. Blacks and minorities are more likely to be victims of homicides in low-income neighborhoods. You're telling me we're not allowed to defend ourselves? And thirdly, more guns are used every single year to stop violent crimes. That's very important. Why don't we talk about this? But we are going to be talking about it. Guys, stay tuned for some quick program messaging. I want to talk about this. I'm also going to be talking about what's happening in Taiwan. Again, the Nashville shooter, Ukraine intelligence document leak could be the worst since the Snowden leak back in 2013. We'll get into that. Daniel Perry, former military man, may be pardoned by Governor Gregg Abbott of Texas. We'll get into that and more on this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please stay tuned for some quick program messaging. All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Guys, I want to get on to this. This story in Nashville, Tennessee has driven me crazy, and I'll tell you why. It's very important for those of us that are on the right, it's very important for us to stay on offense. We have to start asking the question why when it comes to politics, not just the who, what, the how, but the why. Why is it that these Tennessee Three are getting all of this media attention? Why is it that Kamala Harris will travel down to Nashville, but she won't travel down to the border? Man, I should have said she won't travel down to the border, right? And defend our borders, but she'll go and defend a bunch of Marxists up in Nashville, Tennessee. Why is that? Now, Republicans, in my opinion, maybe they went too far. We can argue that maybe they shouldn't have expelled the two state representatives. Maybe they shouldn't have. But I don't care that they did. It's up to them to do it. They are a super majority, and those districts are going to get representation. Either those guys are going to come back, but I don't think the Tennessee GOP should allow them to come back, or someone else that is going to fill their spot, and it'll be a Democrat. All right, it's going to be a Democrat. Maybe it won't be a left-wing radical Marxist like these two. What are their names? Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. I'm going to play some video of them. These guys are the biggest fakes and phonies there are. But the reason why I'm sticking on this story, at least for now, or I'm going so hard on this story, is because the right, as people on the right, we need to stop playing defense. We need to go on offense. All the left is trying to get from us is a reaction. And then they capitalize on that reaction, and they use our reaction to put us on defense. So now the Tennessee GOP went on offense. They kicked these guys out of the state house. Then they get called a bunch of racists and bigots. And of course, it doesn't look good because you kick a couple of black guys out. The white lady survives. And then the Tennessee GOP starts saying, okay. Mercy. Maybe we'll allow them back in. No, stay on the offense, or otherwise you'll back yourself into a corner. Maybe you went overboard, maybe you didn't, but do not back yourself into the corner. Go on offense. These are a bunch of Marxists, and that's the way that you need to present it. These are disruptors. These are people that were trying to disrupt the democratic process. They were not worried about democracy. So Republicans, it is time to go on offense. If you don't go on offense, or if you're on defense, let's put it this way, if you're on defense, you're losing. Gabe, let's go ahead and roll the video of these Marxists. All right, that's what they are, Marxists. That's what the Tennessee Three. They are not heroes. They are Marxists. These people want to disarm law-abiding citizens. You got VP Kamala Harris. You got VP Kamala Harris traveling. She's not willing to travel to the southern border to protect America, but she's willing to travel to Nashville. She's willing to travel to Nashville in order to protect some Marxists and to take away your gun rights. What the hell is wrong with this chick? Guys, we should be talking about this stuff. We need to go on offense. Do you guys get it? Blacks were not allowed to own guns during Reconstruction and slavery for fear that they would overrun their white masters. And you got ignorant black Marxists here talking about taking away our guns, as if guns are the issue and not good versus evil. It makes no sense to me. Blacks and minorities are the ones that are going to fall to be, most likely be the victims of any type of violence inside of our inner cities. And we want to disarm the law-abiding citizens. It makes no sense to me. Blacks should be supportive of the Second Amendment. First off, we should be the first ones that doesn't want government to take away our guns. And given where a lot of us live, where let's just face it, let's just be real, many of us live in harsher neighborhoods. We should be allowed to defend ourselves against the common thug. Why wouldn't you want to do that? I know why. Because you got Marxists like this guy Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, both of which you're getting ready to hear, telling us that guns are bad, guns are bad, guns are bad. Not the criminals behind the guns. Because did you know that there's over 2 million gun defenses in the United States every single year, or approximately 2 million gun defenses every single year, meaning a good guy or gal with the gun defends his or her life against a criminal with the gun? 4 or 5 times. This occurs 4 or 5 times more than any criminal gun use in the United States of America. But they don't talk about this, and they know this. They don't want you to know the truth because they're Marxists. They want to be the only ones that are empowered. So we have to go on offense. We have to go on offense. All right. Let's go ahead and roll the tape. I've been blabbing too long here, Gabe. This is our first social justice warrior. This is our first black Marxist. He's a Marxist. He's a Marxist. He's a Marxist. The Tennessee Three are Marxists. Do you hear me? Tennessee GOP, do you hear me? The Tennessee Three are Marxists. And that's the way that you should frame them. They are anti-self-defense. That's who they are. Let's put these fools on defense. I'm so tired of Republicans not knowing how to go on offense. So I'm going to make it easy for you. These Marxists cannot stand people being allowed to defend their own lives. Why? That's the question we should be asking. Let's go ahead and roll the tape. Por favor, Gabe.
Justin Pearson.
Representative Jones, Representative Johnson, and myself are being expelled from the State House because we said we cannot do business as usual. No one should be wanting to operate as though this is not happening, as though we are not living in a gun violence epidemic in the state of Tennessee. And the solutions that are being offered is actually to reduce the First Amendment rights of people who speak up on behalf of their constituencies, who speak up on behalf of people who are tired of the guns, who are tired of seeing legislation being passed that lowers the age for you to carry, tired of seeing legislation being passed that says you don't need a permit, tired of legislation being passed that says if we give teachers guns, that's somehow going to fix the problem. People are tired of these non-real solutions to a real problem that we are suffering from. I've lost a classmate this year from gun violence. My mentor died last year from gun violence. We are dealing with a gun violence epidemic, and the resolution is not to silence the voices of people who send us here to the people's house to speak with them and for them. It is to make sure we do just legislation. It's to make sure we fight for red flag laws. We fight for good storage laws. We fight to make sure that this is a democracy and maintains its democratic principles. But that's what's being lost today. And so every Tennessean needs to be very concerned that we are not in a democracy. And across the United States of America, there has been no House members who have ever been expelled for exercising their First Amendment rights in a peaceful protest. This is a first in American history, and we are losing our democracy to white supremacy.
All right, so we're not in a democracy. He's right. We're in a representative republic, or we're in a democratic republic. So the food doesn't even know the type of government that exists inside of the United States. Yet you see the cameras flocking in front of this guy because what the media wants to do, the local media, they want to make this a national story and listen to me, Republicans, what the left is going to do. So I'm giving you the opportunity to jump on offense now. They're going to find social justice warriors like this all across the nation, in each state, in each legislative body, to try to copy and emulate them. And they're going to try to make a local story a national story. And it's always going to be about women, and it's always going to be about blacks, and it's always going to be about minorities or the LGBTQ. That's what the left is going to do. They're going to go woke. They're going to undermine what they want to do is use cultural Marxism to undermine our founding and impose their values on us. And we've got to stop them. We've got to stay ahead of them. So I'm warning you now, this is exactly what they're going to do. They're going to use fools like this that look good, that play the part, dressed like he's in the 1960s with his Afro puff and all that kind of stuff, trying to sound like a social justice warrior, trying to sound like he knows what he's talking about. When I just told you there are over 2 million gun defenses, every single year that this fool won't talk about. When I just told you that blacks were not allowed to own guns under the black codes imposed by Democrats during Reconstruction. When I just told you that blacks and minorities are more likely to be victims of violent crimes in their own neighborhoods because they can't even defend themselves. This guy is a Marxist. He's not a hero. And this nonsense that we want to take out First Amendment rights, those are Republicans coming from a party that tries to censor us everywhere, in big tech, in Hollywood, when it comes to corporate media, everywhere they can censor us, they are trying to censor us. I'm getting ready to give you a litany of examples of the left trying to censor us, but here they are. They have the audacity to talk about shutting down free speech when it's they that are shutting down free speech. And that district, his district, won't be without representation again. Somebody else could get elected, and will get elected to replace him if he doesn't come back, and it will be a Democrat. So there will be representation. What you won't have is a Marxist that's willing to break the rules. Gabe, let's go ahead and line up the other video, this one of Justin Jones. We'll play this in just a second. This is another black Marxist in the Tennessee legislature that wants to take away guns from law-abiding citizens. Why do they want to do that? Why aren't they talking about fentanyl that's killing more people? Why aren't they talking about the open borders? Oh, I know why. Because they're Democrats, and their Democratic Party has a policy that's allowing our southern border to be wide open. But we're not going to talk about that one, right? Of course we're not. Guys, we got to stop playing this game that they're playing. We got to stop being scared of these fools. We've got to learn to stop reacting to everything the left does and reframe. That is to stop going on defense and start going on offense. If we're going to look past skin color, we need to look past skin color, and we need to be willing to say, wait a minute. That guy may be black, but more importantly, he's a Marxist. These guys are Marxists. Let's listen to the next Marxist that is anti-self-defense. This one his name is Justin Jones. Now, Gloria Johnson, I'm not going to play audio of her. She's a woke white liberal. She was part of it. She didn't get expelled from the Tennessee state legislature, which gave the left the perfect setup. 2 blacks get suspended or expelled. The white woman survives if just by 1 vote. So we're not even bothering to play her, but it doesn't matter. She's a Marxist too. And quite frankly, in the name of social justice, in the name of equality, they should have expelled her behind too. And they should have put pressure. They should have took a 2nd and 3rd vote until she was expelled. Whoever it was that flipped, they should have put pressure on somebody to flip against that lady too. I don't care if Marxists are kicked out of a state seat. I absolutely do not care. If the Republicans have the power to do so, so be it. Now, would I have done something different? Perhaps. Could they have censored them and just ran them off the committees? They could have done that, but they elected to go further. Why did they elect to go further? Because these fools, by using bullhorns in the state capitol, damn near incited a resurrection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So I don't feel sorry for them at all. Here's your next Marxist, Justin Jones.
The world is watching Tennessee. Because what is happening here today is a farce of democracy. What is happening here today is a situation in which the jury has already publicly announced the verdict. Just yesterday, the House Speaker took to national news to condemn us and call for our expulsion before any evidence was presented, before any trial happened. And so what we see today is just a spectacle. What we see today is a lynch mob assembled to not lynch me, but our democratic process. But it will not stand, because no lie can live forever.
All right, you see how they look at. I give these guys credit. They have great delivery. The both of them do. Both of the Marxists, Justin Jones, the Marxist, and Justin Pearson, the Marxist. They both have incredible delivery, but they're spewing out a bunch of lies. First off, he's not in a trial, for God's sakes. So you don't get a jury. You're not in a trial. All right. This reference to lynch mobs that were used by Democrats, that were used by the KKK that was formed in Pulaski, Tennessee, in order to terrorize blacks and Republicans that happen to be white. Lynch mobs. You see this incendiary language that the left often use is always to stoke emotion, is always to stoke fear. Meanwhile, you get so mad and you allow these Marxists who, if they're in the state legislature, if they graduate ever to the U.S. Congress or even further, these people will be protected by people with guns, but you won't be. That's what the Marxists do. And we need to stop pretending like these guys are anything but Marxists. That is who they are. That is who they always will be. So stop being so scared of people simply because of the color of their skin and call them out for their ideas. Call them out for their ideas. This is so crucially important. It's so crucially important that you get this. It's so crucially important that you tell your state legislatures, I do not want to go on defense with these Marxists. I want to go on offense. So if you're going to expel them, Tennessee GOP, you better stay strong and you better expel them. If you go back, you've just lost. You've given the left, or you've emboldened the left to such a degree that they're going to use this model and they're going to take it all across America in state capitals everywhere. Tennessee GOP, this guy set the world. Now, the world isn't watching. If we shut them down, the world will forget about them in 1 week. But if Tennessee GOP, you back down and you allow more of these Marxists to pop up, all right, shame on you. Shame on you. All right, so let me just share some information. Again, you got three lawmakers: Gloria Johnson, Justin Jones, the last one you heard, the last video, Justin Pearson was the first. All of them were expelled. All right. Here's what Kamala Harris did. She traveled Friday to Nashville, Tennessee. Here's what she said: 6 people, including 3 children, were killed last week in a school shooting in Nashville. How did Republican lawmakers in Tennessee respond? By expelling their colleagues who stood with Tennesseans and said enough is enough. This is undemocratic and dangerous. No, it isn't undemocratic. Listen, these people disrupted the democratic process. They disrupted the democratic process by virtually inciting a riot and insurrection inside of their own state capitol, using bullhorns to make sure that they were not only heard on the floor, but that their little minions, their little brown shirts that stood outside of the doors could hear exactly what they were saying. They were showboating. And they were coming dangerously close to inciting a riot. So I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for them at all. Notice this lady, Kamala Harris, didn't even have the decency to meet with the families of the victims that were killed by a trans shooter. She didn't have the decency to do that. Why? Because it would go against their narrative. And perhaps these people would have been Republicans. Who knows? But she didn't even have the decency. This lady is disgusting. She's an absolute embarrassment. Man. It's so sad. Then here's she goes there and she pushes for gun control. And I'm not going to say that. I hate saying assault weapons. There's no such thing as an assault weapon. A knife can be an assault weapon. A shoe, if you throw it upside someone's head, could be an assault weapon. All right. These people are after gun control, period. They want a gun ban, period. And I would encourage you conservatives out there, you constitutionalists, you Republicans, to stop using the term assault weapons. It does not exist. There's no such thing as an assault weapon. And if we keep using their language to make guns sound scarier, guess what's going to happen? Even people on our side that tend to be more moderate are going to start saying assault weapons, assault. Oh, as a matter of fact, they have. They're going to start using the language, and that language sounds scary. They're guns. They're self-defense rifles. They're sporting rifles. So she spoke, VP Harris did, at Nashville's Fisk University. And she pushed more background checks, red flag laws, and assault weapons ban, quote unquote, as a result of the Nashville shooter. But what she didn't mention was the Christian school shooter obtained her guns legally, and she did go through a background check. So none of this stuff would have stopped this lady. Not to mention, she was hell-bent on killing people. She had lied to her parents about owning a firearm because they had asked. She claimed that she sold it. So her parents didn't know. She hid them. She hid the guns. So she did everything legally, but she was evil. And so she decided to kill people anyway. Oh, by the way, where's the manifesto? Where's the manifesto? And then you have, and I got to give this guy credit. Jonathan Turley, he's a lefty. Actually, I take that back. He's a liberal. You know, but you'll see him on Fox News. He's an attorney, very smart attorney, but he leans liberal, and I have no problem with that. I'm cool with liberals. I'm cool with Democrats. I wish more of them would have the courage to speak up, like Turley does, like Alan Dershowitz does. Have no problem with liberals. I do have a problem with leftists, but he called out the people on the right. He called out the people on the right on the left. I'm sorry. He called out people in his own party. Now, he himself talking about these Marxists being expelled from the Tennessee legislature. He said he would have preferred censure or just suspensions from their committee. But he also mentioned, listen, Harris made a big mistake by not visiting. She didn't go visit the families of the victims of the mass shooting, which I already explained. He talked about disrupting discourse, and he says, the full-throated support for the actions of the expelled legislators is a bizarre position for the Senate president who enforces the same rules in Washington, D.C. Yes, she was disgusted by sanctioning members who refused to allow their colleagues to continue legislative business because they lacked the votes for a gun control measure. That's what happened. See, these guys lost. The Marxists lost. Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, they lost in the democratic process. In using the democratic process, they couldn't garner enough votes for gun control. So what did they do? They threw a temper tantrum. They threw a temper tantrum because they didn't get their way. I'm sorry. Temper tantrums aren't part of the democratic process. You can get mad and hot and bothered all you want, but if you don't have the votes in the democratic process, then you don't move ahead. These fools are just Marxists. Marxists. The Tennessee Three are Marxists. You guys make sure you follow me on Twitter. Man, guys, I haven't even been reading my ads. Forgive me, because before I finish up with this, let me just share this. Guys, listen, times are getting chaotic. I'm getting ready to give you a bit of foreign policy news. Things are just getting crazy. I want you to be prepared. I want you to secure as many assets as possible. I'm afraid of where the economy could go, and I'm not saying that to scare you. That's just a fact. We're all looking at, you go to the grocery store and things are double almost of what they used to be. You go to the gas station, prices are starting to creep up yet again, and our energy costs affects everything around us. Guys, you want assets. All right. So I'm going to talk to you about Birch Gold Group. Inflation has consequences as the Fed raises interest rates to combat out of control government spending. Long-term bonds have diminished in value, crippling banks. Depositors are holding their breath and investors are bailing on bank stocks. Diversification has never been more important. The recent surge in gold prices is directly tied to the extreme market volatility right now. This is why gold has historically been a great hedge, against the market and against inflation. The only company I trust to help you diversify into gold is Birch Gold Group. You can text my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, to 989898. You'll get a free info kit on gold. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or your 401k that's tied to a volatile market into an IRA and physical precious metals, gold and silver. And the best part is it's tax sheltered. Again, text Carl, my name, CARL, to 989898 to claim your free info kit on gold today with an A+ rating with a BBB. Thousands of happy customers trust Birch Gold to protect their future. You can too. Again, text Carl to 989898. So again, going back to this column, Jonathan Turley, New York Post, Democrats' assault on democracy focuses on whose voices are being channeled and not on the law. And that's what's happening. You have Marxists determining whose voices should be heard along with the help of the media. VP Harris goes up there, but she does the exact same thing when it comes to the Senate, trying to silence voices in the Senate. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Here's what she said. She said, it's about whose voices they were channeling. Understand that. And is that not what a democracy allows? And then liberal sites like the Huffington Post, Jonathan Turley writes about gush with praise for Harris and her, quote, powerful message on democracy. Notice how this lady is a disaster. So these organizations always have to boost her up. But the democracy doesn't invite or entail the disruption of the democratic process. This is what Turley writes, and it's such a great point. Democracy doesn't invite or entail the disruption of the democratic process. So again, you have the Marxists and Justin Pearson and Justin Jones that didn't get their way. So what did they do? They took to the floor to become bullies, to try to intimidate the people of Tennessee to go their way, despite the fact that they did not have the vote. So what they wanted to do is they weren't concerned about the democratic process. They wanted an in round around the democratic process. That's what Marxists do. That's what Marxists do. And now what they want to do by using this narrative, they kicked out the blacks, saved the white woman. They want to force the Tennessee GOP's hand to reinstate them. Guys, don't play their game. Go on offense. No, we're not reinstating a bunch of Marxists that did not participate in the democratic process, but instead try to undermine the democratic process by damn near starting an insurrection in our state capitol. No, we're not doing it. No, we're not doing it. Stand up to these fools. I mean, leftists shout down conservatives on college campuses all the time. Crickets. But, they'll quickly talk about the 3 Tennessee Marxists, portray them as heroes. Here's what AOC said. Their fascism, speaking of the GOP in Tennessee, their fascism is only further radicalizing and awakening an earthquake of young people, both in the South and across the nation. If you thought youth organizing was strong, just wait for what's coming. Gen Z don't play, says the Marxist AOC. Listen to this. This is nothing but an echo chamber, as Turley points out. Democrats who have supported calls for expelling House members after J6, including false claims that members personally assisted rioters. Now, these guys were assisting and inciting rioters. You have the J6 committee and Democrats inside of the U.S. House of Representatives that wanted congressmen, their fellow congressmen, surveilled and kicked out of Congress. You got Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post, who called for expelling Republican members who voted against certifying the 2020 election. You have former Senator Barbara Boxer of California, who previously voted against the certification of Republican presidents and called it democracy. You have Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House, who said, heaping praise on Boxer at the time, this is not, as some of our Republican colleagues have referred to it sadly as frivolous. This debate is fundamental to our democracy, close quote. Rubin, again, a WAPO. Every Republican bears a responsibility for what happened on Wednesday, whether or not they participated in a seditious attempt to overthrow our democracy. Speaking of J6, you have the hypocrite that is Benny Thompson. And guys, I'm not calling these people a hypocrite for the sake of calling them a hypocrite. The term hypocrite, it doesn't matter to the left, all right? They're leftists. So it doesn't matter. But I want you to understand why we cannot bow down to these fools and stay on defense. We need to go on offense. You have Benny Thompson, the chairman of the J6 committee, voted to challenge the certification of the 2004 results of the George W. Bush election or re-election campaign. You have committee member Jamie Raskin, from Maryland who sought to challenge President Donald Trump's certification in 2016. So these cats don't care about fairness. These cats don't care about democracy. They're Marxists that want to get their way. And they want to intimidate you into doing so. There were no cries of the disgust from Harris or others. And even when Representative Pascal demanded expulsion of dozens of members for their vote the wrong way on the certification of the 2016 campaign. And now it's just about racism. They do this stuff all the time. Speaking of Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger, when witnesses recently called for an investigation into government censorship efforts, Democratic members denounced those callings for greater transparency as Putin lovers. So you see, they don't care about the democratic process. They only want to use this story to their advantage. So guys, make sure that you remember that. Before I go on, let me tell you quickly about MyPillow. MyPillow.com, Mike Lindell, providing manufacturing American-made products, American jobs, right at MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Carl. Go to MyPillow.com. Again, use the promo code Carl. My name, C-A-R-L. Click on the radio listener square and take advantage of their offer, or an offer exclusive to my listeners. That is, buy one, get one free of the new MyPillow 2.0. It comes with the same patented the same patented feel of the original MyPillow, but now it has this new fabric, this new outer layer that makes it softer, smoother, and cooler. It dissipates heat, so you'll get an even better night's rest. All products come with a 10-year warranty and 60-day money-back guarantee. All you have to do is go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square, enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, to take advantage of your exclusive offer. That's right, buy one, get one free of the new MyPillow 2.0, or if you prefer, you can give them a call, 800-858-0263. That is 800-858-0263. All right, let me move on. I got a few stories that I want to share with you that are on the tip sheet. First off, this is a biggie. So, Ukraine, this is from Breitbart. Here's a summary, and I originally saw it on Wall Street Journal, but this is a quick summation, so I want to go through this real quick. So Ukraine intelligence docs leak could be the worst for U.S. government since Snowden. All right, so you guys, I'm not sure if you guys heard about this, but this occurred. Actually, it's been occurring for quite some time, but we just heard of it over the weekend. So you have a group of U.S. intelligence documents dealing with the Ukraine war and other global matters that were apparently leaked through online gaming forums. And they have been dismissed as fake by some in both Ukraine and Russia. But listen, we simply don't know. But it is apparently being taken seriously right here in the West. So up to 100 pages of secret U.S. intelligence, or in America, up to 100 pages of secret U.S. intelligence reports have leaked into the public domain. And what one newspaper, citing an intelligence commentator, says could be, quote, the biggest since Edward Snowden, close quote, who leaked thousands of documents back in 2013 after he became concerned with the ethical implications of Western intelligence activities. Breitbart reported the authenticity of this new group of leaked documents, which deals predominantly with military assessment of the Ukraine war, but also purport to reveal U.S. spying on allies that include South Korea and Israel. It's been previously disputed, yet they appear to be taken seriously by observers of Western intelligence, even within the Pentagon and the DOJ, who have said nothing other than they are aware of claims. They're investigating the claims, and they have no other comment to make at this time. Now, according to CNN, WAPO, and New York Times, take it as you will, intelligence sources are treating the documents, quote, appear as like they are saying they appear to be legitimate intelligence and operational briefs, close quote, and report frustration within the U.S. government that the documents were being posted online for weeks before they were even noticed. Man, this stuff has been online since January. An open source intelligence collective group called Bellingcat traces apparently leaked intelligence documents being posted on Discord, which is a social platform popular with gamers, back to January. Eventually, the documents spread to 4chan, where they were used to settle arguments. Oh my God, I should be crying. Which echoes a previous leak used to browbeat users in an online debate about the realism of a tank warfare game and Russia's Telegram, where they were noticed. The Breitbart goes on to say the seriousness of the leak, which is reported to underline the degree of infiltration of the Russian intelligence and military hierarchies by U.S. intelligence, to the extent of being able to warn the Ukrainians of Russian artillery strikes in advance and of advanced spy satellites that were deployed to the area. It is discussed by Obama-era DNI James Clapper. He told CNN, and I quote, "This appears to be a very serious breach of security, which is potentially very damaging both to the U.S. as well as many friends and allies. I am sure all resources are being tapped to find out who is leaking this sensitive information," close quote. Britain's Daily Telegraph cites a senior British intelligence officer who called the leak, quote, "very significant," and said, quote, "it shows a failure at the various highest levels of classification. If it is genuine, the Americans have a very serious problem. The biggest since Edward Snowden," close quote. While the leak has serious implications for the integrity of the U.S. intelligence community, it may also impact America's ability to gather such detailed information about Russia's war machine in the future if Moscow is able to use the documents to identify their own vulnerabilities and therefore strengthen themselves in the war against Ukraine. I'm telling you what's happening in the White House. Guys, we are on the precipice of World War III. And not only do we have people that don't understand what the heck they're doing, seemingly, in the White House and in the Department of Defense, but if this is true, the complete incompetence, the ineptness of getting that information out there, or letting that information being leaked out there in the ether and sit around for months while gamers talk about it, we can only pray to God that this story is not true. But I'm afraid that we may have no such luck, but we'll have to wait and see. There's a couple of other stories that I want to just mention quickly here before we close out that were on the tip sheet today that I think are very important. One has to do, obviously, with Russia and Taiwan. But let me mention this one first. This is very important. This goes back to, in a sense, the way the left is using influencers. And make no mistake about it, what the Marxists, the radicals, Justin Jones and Justin Pearson's, the Tennessee Three, the Tennessee Marxists, in a sense, they're going to be their influencers for the left. So trip off of this story. This is from Axios. So President Biden to get influencers to praise him across all platforms to garner young voters. Let me tell you why this is important. It goes back to even what's happening with President Trump and Alvin Bragg. And I think Republicans have to be very careful about not just making it a Trump thing. Even though it is a Trump thing, even though it impacts Trump, even though they're going after him, we have to look at things on a macro level. We have to look at the why. Why is the left doing this stuff? So Alvin Bragg, the story with Alvin Bragg is simply this. If you were to boil it down, obviously it's historical. Obviously, it should have never happened, but the left wants to make this happen. Their goal is addition by subtraction. Carl, what do you mean by that? Or their goal in 2024 is addition by subtraction. So the goal is to build a case against Trump. All right, you built the case against Trump in order to scare moderates and independents away from him. That's the goal. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Are they willing to destroy America to do that? Yes, but can we stop acting like we're surprised? Obama said that they were going to fundamentally transform America, and we're still acting like we're in shock. 15 years later? They're leftists. They're commies. All right, get used to it. This is what they do. This is what they're about. So this is addition by subtraction. And this is the same thing that the left wants to do with social media influencers. They want to distract, or they want to attract the young voters. So Republicans better go out and make the case to get young voters. Republicans better go to wherever they need to go to get young voters. Wherever they're hanging out. Whether it's college campuses, you better try to register voters there. I know it's going to be harder than the left. I totally get that. But wherever Republicans need to go, they need to go. They need to make arguments to stay on the offense on cultural issues, even from abortion. We have to go on offense on issues like this. Otherwise, we're going to be framed as anti-pro-choice, anti-women, and all this kind of stuff. And we're going to constantly be on the defense. This is addition by subtraction. So Biden, according to Axios, President Biden's not yet official bid for re-election will lean on hundreds of social media influencers, close quote, quote unquote, who will tout Biden's record and soon may have their own briefing room at the White House. Unfreaking believable. The move aims to boost Biden's standing among young voters who are crucial to Democrats' success in elections and to potentially counter former President Trump's massive social media following. If he's a GOP nominee in 2024, 4 Biden digital staffers are focused on influencers and independent content creators. The staffers officially work for the White House, not Biden's campaign. Wink, wink. Unbelievable. But reaching young and suburban voters is clearly a priority. So these people are going on the attack. We need to stay on the offensive as well. In another story that's extremely important, Biden blames Trump for the Afghanistan withdrawal disaster. Guys, we need to be out showing video. We need to remind people of what a disaster the Afghanistan withdrawal was. A Democrat U.S. Senator on Sunday blamed Trump for leaving the Biden administration with, quote, very bad options, close quote, that led to the chaotic Afghanistan withdrawal in 2021. Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland, who sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, made the remarks during an appearance on Fox News. Cardin's comments follow the White House's public release of a 12-page summary of the results of the U.S. policies around the ending of the nation's longest war, taking little responsibility for its own actions and asserting that Biden was, quote, severely constrained by Trump's decisions. There's a problem with that. And see, by speaking this way, Senator, what's his name, Cardin, he thinks you're dumb. He's just saying you're dumb. He doesn't want you to understand that Biden was elected president and then became the commander in chief, and he could have implemented any policy that he wanted to. Trump intended to leave Afghanistan, but he intended to leave the Bagram base behind and soldiers there, 2,500 soldiers there, so that we could control Bagram's Air Force Base, and we could still do like surveillance of China and Russia and all that from a very great location. But Biden chose not to do that. He chose to abandon the Bagram's Air Force Base. He chose to give our weaponry along with Milley to Afghanistan terrorists. There's no doubt they've given some of those weaponry to China to reverse engineer it. No doubt in my mind. This guy's the commander in chief. On day one, he could have set his own policy. The problem is no one fears Biden. No one feared Biden at that time. But for him to blame Trump, it's just absolutely disgusting to me. All right, moving on. Where's the China continues military drills around Taiwan in retaliation to the president of Taiwan. I'm sorry, visiting with the U.S. I cannot pronounce her name. So China's military conducted a second day of military drills around Taiwan on Sunday, with the island's defense ministry reporting multiple Air Force sorties and that it was monitoring China's missile forces. China, which claims to democratically govern Taiwan as its own territory, began 3 days of military exercises around the island on Saturday, the day after Taiwan president returned from a brief visit to the U.S. And guys, let me just say this. We're not ready to defend Taiwan. The best thing that I think we could have done, or what could have happened, is what Trump was doing. I'm not sure about in Taiwan, but I can tell you this: what Trump was doing in forcing these people, forcing our allies to boost up their own security spending was crucial. And again, I know he did that with the people in Europe. I'm not so sure about Taiwan, but it needed to happen there. It may be too late. If I'm just speaking to you straight. If I'm Xi Jinping and I want Taiwan, and you know this too, I'm going after it now while this guy's in the White House. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. I'm just I'm just telling you the truth. All right, last story, and we'll wrap this up. Again, please follow me on social media, wherever I am. Instagram, Twitter, Getter, True Social, The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find me. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Carl Jackson Show. We're also on Rumble, The Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe there. There's a story that I want to share with you. This is a very good story, and we have to do this. Again, another story of addition by subtraction from the left. Texas Governor Gregg Abbott was working swiftly to pardon Daniel Perry. Carl, who's Daniel Perry? Well, let me read on this. Hat Tip Daily Wire. Gregg Abbott signaled Saturday that he was working to get Daniel Perry a pardon after he was convicted in a case involving self-defense. Perry shot and killed a man who was carrying an AK-47 at a BLM, or Black Lives Matter, protest in 2020. He was found guilty of murder by a jury on Friday in Texas. The jury found Perry not guilty, of the aggravated assault charge. Okay. Carl, this guy sounds like he may have done a bad thing, maybe a vigilante, gone crazy during the BLM riots. No, listen to this. Perry was not initially charged with any crimes after the incident, but in 2021, a Soros-backed DA, a guy by the name of Jose Garza, took office and decided that he wanted to prosecute Perry. So Garza is one of the many DAs whose campaign was backed by George Soros. Here's a quote from Abbott, Governor Abbott of Texas. Texas has one of the strongest stand your ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or a progressive district attorney. Unlike the president or some other states, the Texas Constitution limits the governor's pardon authority to only act on a recommendation by the Board of Pardons and Paroles. Texas law does not allow the governor to request the board of pardons and paroles to determine if a person should be granted a pardon. I have made that request and instructed the board to expedite its review. I look forward to approving the board's pardon recommendation as soon as it hits my desk. Additionally, I have already prioritized reining in rogue DAs, and the Texas legislature is working on laws to achieve that goal. Now, you guys might remember that Governor Ron DeSantis was the first to straight up remove a Soros-backed DA from the Tampa Bay area, I believe it was, who just refused to abide by the laws of Florida, was writing his own laws, refused to enforce laws, Florida law. In the Tampa Bay area, if I recall correctly. Now, there's a guy by the name of David Fugit, the lead investigating detective in the case. He said in 2021 in an affidavit that Garza acted with, quote, criminal behavior, close quote, in the case. He said, I had several conversations with the district attorney's office regarding the presentation of exculpatory evidence related to Daniel Perry. Meaning information that would have let him off the hook, that would have proved his innocence. Fudget went on to say, it became clear to me that the DA's office did not want to present evidence to the grand jury that would be exculpatory to Daniel Perry. He goes on to say, on more than one occasion, I was directed by the Travis County Attorney's Office to remove exculpatory information that I had intended to present to the grand jury during my testimony. Of my original 158 slide PowerPoint presentation, the presentation was reduced to 56 slides with almost all of the exculpatory evidence ordered removed. I felt like I did not have any other options but to comply with their orders, close quote. Man, Fugit said that Garza's directive to forbid exculpatory evidence from being shown during the case, quote, is when the conduct of the district attorney's office from highly unethical behavior went from being unethical to criminal behavior. This guy, honestly, he needs to be removed, just like Governor DeSantis did the guy in Tampa Bay area. Governor Abbott needs to go a step further, and he needs to remove this guy, a guy that will willingly hide evidence of someone. Exculpatory evidence doesn't deserve to be practicing law. He is crooked. He is corrupt. He is a criminal. And the goal is, again, this all goes by, it's sad, but it's addition by subtraction. The goal is to scare the crap out of law-abiding citizens. Anyone that will go up against the left-wing thugs, the BLM, Antifa, any of their brown shirts, anyone that will go up against them will be punished. The law-abiding citizens that defends his life. If you defend your life against a Marxist radical group like Antifa or BLM, you're the one that will go down, not them. That's the message they want to send. So that more people or the fewer people are willing to stand up. And eventually they'll just bow down to the left. That's what they want. That's what they want. It's so sad where we are, but this is where we are. Guys, make sure that you stay on the offense. That's my goal. That's the message for today. Stay on the offense. Keep on fighting. Ask the question why. Stop reacting to the left. Let's start framing our arguments. Let's start putting them back on the defense, starting with these Marxists in Tennessee. Why do they want people to be law-abiding citizens to be disarmed? Why is VP Kamala Harris willing to travel to Nashville to encourage the Marxists and demand you give up your guns, but she won't travel to our southern border to make sure the rest of Americans are safe? Why are these black Marxists sitting there? They're anti Second Amendment rights when black people weren't allowed to own guns during Reconstruction. Why would any black person be anti-2A? It makes no sense to me, except that they're Marxists. And also knowing that blacks are going to be victimized in our own neighborhoods if we're not allowed to defend ourselves by common thugs. Also knowing for a fact that more people save their lives with a good gun use, either brandishing their weapon, pulling out their weapon altogether, or shooting a perpetrator. You have 2 million gun defenses every single year in the United States, or nearly, approximately, or about. All right. And you have far fewer crimes or comparatively speaking, where criminals use guns. Guys, this stuff is a no-brainer. We need to go on offense, put these fools back on defense. Until next time, guys, please don't grow worried, doing good. God bless you. See you tomorrow.